So good afternoon again. You can do better than that. Good afternoon. All right. My name is Louis Jamerson. I am the executive director of the Fresno Teachers Association. I want to start off tonight by first saying thank you to People's Church for allowing us into their home. I also want to remind you that as we talk and have dialogue this evening, that no matter what your faith is, that this home is a church of God, is a house of God, and please make your comments and statements keeping in mind that you're in this house, okay? I want to thank FTA leaders, our FTA executive board, our FTA representative council. I want to thank our staff. I also want to thank our consultants and volunteers who, without all of those folks and their effort and energy, this would not be possible tonight. So I want to thank them, and if you all could give them a round of applause. Oftentimes when we convene as the Fresno Teachers Association, there is a belief that we are trying to get in space to beat up the district. That is not what this is about tonight. We have many success stories in this district, students who have graduated and attend some of the most prestigious colleges and universities in this country and abroad. Every 2 weeks, our school board celebrates the academic, artistic, and athletic success of students in our district, which is really a great thing. Tonight, we want to do a different thing, but also a great thing. We want to focus on those thousands of students who are not reaching their full potential. Those thousands of students who are not on an academic decathlon team, those thousands of students who are not going to play on a championship sports team, those thousands of students who are not currently on track to graduate and go to college or to graduate and be career ready. About a week and a half ago, one of our teachers stood in a room of about 100 folks. His name is Kyle Thornton, and he's a teacher from McLane High School. And he said, it's not enough to just save one student when so many are being lost. And it's important to note that if we just had one student who was lost or failing or not meeting his or her full potential, I'd say we must do more if it was just one. But we have thousands of students in this district, who are not reaching their full peak. So tonight, while we applaud the success of many students, we want to focus on solutions to help our thousands of students reach their summit. Ask yourselves as we progress throughout this night, what's the result for our communities, our schools, this generation, and future generations if we don't immediately start to help those thousands of students? What are the implications when thousands of students leave our schools and they're not college ready? What are the implications when thousands of students leave our schools and they're not career ready? What's the implication when thousands of students leave our schools and we have not done all that we can to make sure they're successful? I want to put this in a little more of a frame, if you will. A large part of the success for these thousands of students, for our 74,000 students in this district, rest in the hands, the hearts, the compassion, the care, the knowledge, the mentorship, and love of some of the best and brightest educators in this country, the members of FTA. So you should give yourselves a round of applause for that. Before we get to our first topic tonight, I am going to ask our esteemed panel to take 1 minute, and introduce themselves. We'll start with the president of FTA, Tish Rice.
Hi there. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Tish Rice, and I'm the proud president of the Fresno Teachers Association. I've been a classroom teacher for 24 years. Yeah. I've taught math at both the middle school level as well as the high school level. The best part of teaching for me, getting to interact with my students, watching them grow, seeing them gain confidence in their math skills. The worst part of teaching, I tell people, is not being able to meet the needs of all of my students. And why is that a struggle for me? Because when we're in front of kids day in and day out, we want to make sure that we're reaching every single one of them. Now, I stepped out of the classroom to take on this role as president of the Teachers Association because I believe that our working conditions are connected to student learning conditions. Am I right about that, folks? And so I'm really excited and happy to be a part of tonight's discussion on how we improve those conditions so we're setting up our educators and our students for success. Thank you.
Well, the 1 minute to introduce myself. I'm Carol Mills. I have the honor and privilege of representing Trustee Area 5 on the Fresno Unified School Board. Thank you. I have represented that area for the past 12 years. I am not a teacher. I am a lawyer, and I'm frankly very happy that I'm a lawyer. I love being a lawyer. Although I know it's not for everyone. My son went through school here in Fresno Unified and graduated a few years ago, finished college, and is now a computer engineer. So I think that's great. So he got a good education, and that is thanks to the teachers that he had, some of whom I know are here today.
Good evening. Check, check. There we go. Good evening. I'm Brooke Ashton. I'm currently the board president of Fresno Unified School District. I represent the children, all the children of Fresno Unified, even though I'm elected in the Bullard area. I don't believe there's a differentiation between the two, and I hope that you'll agree with me on that, that I think that all kids are important. I got on this board for a couple of reasons, but mainly because I thought that there was a disconnect between administration and kids, between administration and teachers and administration and teachers and kids and parents and kids, and hopefully through this process of the revitalization of Fresno Unified, we're going to be able to make those connections once again. Having had a daughter who's a teacher, I understand what it means to be in the classroom a little bit, just a little bit. I'm more of a business guy than I am anything else. But having been on the business end, I also understand what it means to be an employer. And so trying to juxtapose the two positions sometimes is a little bit tough. But I think with your help, I think with this board, I think we can get back to an esprit de corps where we all are rowing in the same direction.
Good afternoon. I'm Valerie Davis. I represent the Sunnyside area. But like my colleagues, I too do not respect any boundary. I have 25 first cousins, 2 of them that are in the audience today. And so there is no boundary in any nooks and crannies of Fresno Unified that I don't participate in. I was born and raised in Fresno. I'm very proud that my in-laws, my husband, myself, and my children have over 100 years of service to Fresno Unified as teachers in this community, and will continue. Thank you. I appreciate the time that we have this evening and this summit, and I appreciate your survey. However, numbers don't always tell the complete story, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you some specifics on why these numbers are what they are. Thank you very much for your invitation. Appreciate it.
So let's give our panel another round of applause. We still have folks coming in. It's a good sign. Hundreds of you in this room. This is a wonderful sign. Why don't we start tonight by establishing some ground rules? You okay with that? All right. The first thing I should say, just because I have to make my lawyers happy, is this is not a meeting under the Brown Act pursuant to the exception in Government Code 54952.2C3. I have to say that because this is not a school board meeting, and these folks are not here as under their official capacity conducting a school board meeting. So that's important. The other thing I have to say as we get started that's not on the screen is that this portion of tonight, this portion of the summit is not bargaining. Obviously, FTA and the district were engaged in the process of bargaining. We will talk about the bargaining process, where we're at the end of the summit. For now, we're going to talk about some topics that are, I think, very important to some of you in this room. Other ground rules, panelists will have about 2 minutes to respond to questions from the survey. After panel responses, we will open the floor up to your questions and comments. So they'll get a sense of what the topic is, you'll know what the topic is, and then you can ask them questions or make comments about the topic, and they will respond. Folks clear with me? You okay so far? Yes? Okay. And then we have 2 mics, so mic 1 and mic 2. So Felipe is standing next to mic 2, and Mo will be standing next to mic 1. When you get to the mic, if you could please state your name, title, and your question or comment. You will have 30 seconds, so be efficient with your time, please. We have a lot of folks here tonight, and we want to make sure that we get as many questions and comments to our panel as we can tonight. The 3 topics, just so you know, the first topic will be creating the best learning environment. Again, topic 1, creating the best student learning environment. Topic number 2, sustaining professional educators. And topic number 3, choosing the next Fresno Unified Superintendent. I will let you all know when it's your time to line up at the mics for the specific topic. So no one rush up there now. I'll let you know when it's time. And then again, if you have a question to the panel, they will have about 1 minute to respond to your question or comment. We all clear? Okay. So topic number 1. Creating the best student learning environment. I'm waiting on slide 5. Here we go. Rate the importance of class sizes in creating a positive learning environment. Before I give you the data from the survey, for you folks in this room, if you think it's important or very important to have smaller, manageable class sizes. Could you please stand up for me? Yes, you can raise your hand. We'll take that as standing. Okay, I'm just trying to see if there's anybody really sitting down in here. So everyone would agree that this is important. Okay, you can all be seated. Thank you. So when we surveyed hundreds and hundreds of FTA members about this question, the results are pretty consistent with what we just saw here tonight. Rate the importance of class sizes in creating a positive learning environment. We got about 10% of the folks saying not too important, somewhat important, but 90% of the folks who responded said it's important and very important, class sizes as it relates to creating a positive learning environment. Slide 7. We also asked in our survey about if current class sizes are appropriate to create the best learning experience for my students. You'll see the data again overwhelmingly. Folks said the current class sizes are not in the best shape to create the best learning experience for students. You can do the math. If you add those columns up, you're right at 71%. Let's talk a little bit about safety and discipline. I already heard some folks like, yeah, let's talk about safety and discipline. So, rate the importance of safety and discipline in creating a positive learning environment. So first we talked class sizes, now we're gonna talk safety and discipline in creating a positive learning environment. Again, just because we want to keep this a little interactive, if you think it's important or very important to maintain and create a safe and disciplined learning environment for students, please stand up. All right. Awesome. Thank you. Have a seat. Let's see what the folks who responded to the survey said. Wow. So this one, just so you know, of the hundreds and hundreds of folks who responded to the survey, this was the one where overwhelmingly the folks who responded said, in fact, 95% said it's important and very important that we create safe and disciplined learning environments for our students. So, let's get to some conversation about this. When we did the surveys, we also asked our folks some questions. One of the questions that came up repeatedly under this topic was, and it was clear that we were going to ask this question of our panel: what is your vision for student accountability, and what is your action plan to make sure it happens? Again, what is your vision for student accountability, and what is your action plan to make sure it happens? So I'm going to give our panelists about 1.5 minutes to respond, and then you will get an opportunity to talk about this topic at the mics. So why don't we start with Valerie?
What is my vision and how will it happen? Yes. Oh, put it on that one too. Okay. Well, I don't believe that one size fits all. It depends on what's going on in a classroom. It depends on what's going on in a community. It depends on the leadership we have available to us in the office. So how would I make it happen? How would I make it, it's case by case, it's school by school. I know some schools are in the restorative justice, and some schools it's working well, and some staffs it's not working really well. So I don't think it's one size fits all. I think that we really have to work together, and we have to figure out what type of supports we need, not only for our classroom, but for our students. What supports does he need? This morning when I was at a supermarket, I had a parent approach me and tell me that her fifth graders got kicked out of 2 schools already. And I said, wow, that's not very, well, he's been suspended, not really kicked out of school yet, but just suspended from the 2 schools he's been at. And I said, well, before I left the parking lot, I called up that principal at that school and I dropped that name and I said, what supports are being done? So without me telling you, things need to be done. And there's going to be some follow-up because I'll ask tomorrow what is being done. Because I don't believe it's all in the hands of the teachers, but it's the entire community of the school that has to work with the students. It's not just a classroom disruption. It's an entire disruption in the cafeteria, disruption on the playground, disruption in the neighborhood. So there's something that we have to get to help all of our students. Thank you.
Well, I have several thoughts about, I'd say, the status of holding students accountable for their actions. And I think, frankly, the district in the past few years has not done a good job of holding students accountable. Restorative practices have a place, but it's important to implement them properly. I also feel, you know, we do have a lot of students that come to our school with challenges and with problems going on at home. But one thing that we need to teach them as a district in order to succeed in life is that you are entitled to your feelings, but you are not entitled to act them out in an inappropriate way in a classroom or on a campus. And I personally feel that the Phoenix Academies are doing a great job. I think the problem, oh yeah, give them a hand, they do a great job. I think the problem is we don't have enough capacity at those campuses. And I think it would be good if we actually broke it into 3 different campuses so that we could increase the capacity for the grade levels that need it. And I think we have to be able to suspend and expel students and to recognize that this is, when we send them to Phoenix, this is not meant as a punishment. This is meant as a location where we can focus school psychologists, we can focus social workers, we can have the very small class sizes, and we can treat the whole family that is creating the dynamic that causes a student to act out. Because if we do not do that, and if we make excuses for the child and we keep them on the campus and in the classroom, all we're doing is adversely affecting the learning environment for another 100 students. And you know, and I want to put a pitch in here because I'm tracking legislation. And there is a bill that's been introduced in the state Senate. It's SB 607. And I'm putting a pitch out here for you folks to think about this and whether or not you want your organization's CTA to weigh in on this. Because SB 607, as introduced, would prohibit any district in the state from suspending or expelling any student in K through 12 for disrupting a classroom. Yeah. I mean, if this is passed, it's going to tie all our hands.
So we do have two other board members that are going to be coming. Member Cazares is running a little bit late and getting off work, and member Elizabeth Jonathan Rosas will be here as well. So I don't want you to think that they're not coming. They will be coming. So discipline's a big deal, especially in the classroom or in an overcrowded classroom. And I think it's the 10-80-10 rule. So 10% at the top, 80% in the middle, and 10% are just sometimes a little bit difficult to deal with, to say it gently. And whatever 10 screams the loudest, the 80% seems to follow, whether it's up or whether it's down. Now, that being said, there's no excuse for bad behavior in a classroom. Zero. We've got to get to a point where we have student accountability. There has to be accountability for action. And the accountability, in my mind, can't be to a point where restorative justice fixes everything, because it doesn't. There's a place for it. There's definitely a place for it, but it's not a fix-all, be-all. In my mind, the action plan. The action plan has to be, and Member Mills had talked about the other schools that we can send them to, send some of these kids that are struggling. The problem is that there's like 30 spots in each classroom for 74,000 kids. So 30 spots for each grade level. That makes no sense to me. It just makes no sense. We've got to, in my mind, speaking as one, we've got to build a continuation high school which fixes the problem that we don't have to deal with at the disruption level at our schools, where we can have concentrated learning for some of the kids that are struggling. Maybe it's the teacher ratio is 2 instead of 1 to 30, it's 1 to 15, and maybe there's a difference, a higher level of school psychologists. Maybe there's more social emotional supports, but we've got to get to the point where 2 or 3 are not affecting the 30 or 35, to where we can get back to this thing, that I think is called learning. We've got to get there.
Thank you. So, let me stand over here. If folks could start making their way to the microphones, if you have a comment or question about this particular topic. Again, we're talking about sustaining the best learning environments for our students. I am going to start at mic 1. Go ahead with your question or comment.
It's not on. There we go. Hi, Michael Clark, McLane High School. I know that I have classes of 35, 37, 42, 40. And we currently have a class average, and FTA has been advocating for an individual class cap. Is that something you will support?
So I didn't, tell me again your name, because your mic was a little bit farther.
I'm sorry, Michael Clark from McLane High School.
Great to see you, Mr. Clark. Thank you for being here tonight, first of all. So that's an interesting comment that you have, and I think I have a different take on that, and maybe you can help me with this. So I don't know that we really know what that class size is. I know that class sizes are important. I teach Sunday school sometimes, and believe me when I tell you, it's hard enough to rally 8 kids as opposed to 38 kids. I feel you, right? I understand. I get it. But what is the actual class? How do we count that class ratio? In my mind, and I know that there'll probably be some disagreement in the room. In my mind, we count class ratio size by average daily attendance, as opposed to enrollment. So any given time, they say Fresno Unified has 74,000 kids. I think the number is really 71,000, but the number 74 gets thrown around, right? Well, on any given day, only 66 are there on average, and that's what we get paid for. We get paid ADA, as you know. We should take a look at what the ADA class ratio is, the average number of, if you will, butts in the seat in your classroom. What's the average? And then look at that class size instead of saying, well, he's got 52 that are enrolled, but only 26 show up. right? First of all, let's get the right number and see what that number is. Second of all, let's reduce it to a point where you can actually do your job. You got to be able to teach. You can't teach if you've got so many that you can't make that personal connection to, which I think is highly important.
So let's go to Mike 2.
Hi, my name is Pamela Kennedy. I teach at Toronas Middle School. I've done a lot of research on my own as well as going through the restorative practices training that Fresno Unified had people go through. And during one of those, listening to all of the really good things they had, came up with a really great idea for our school, and I got 80% of the teachers, and then I quit asking because it probably would have been more, to be able to do a daily advisory in the morning for 25 minutes every day to really connect with our kids, to do those, and with 20 or kids in that. A really great thing that was kind of kiboshed by the district because that would have cut into our instructional minutes, even though at the restorative practices it said these can be counted as instructional minutes. That's my first one, is we need the time to do what we need to do with that. We also need, I know that there in the Sunnyside area we've got one gal from DPI that kind of coordinates the restorative practices thing. But we need one on each campus to coordinate what happens. Teachers can try and, do a restorative circle with a kid or try and do that, but they can't do it on a consistent basis, and it's really hard to hold everybody accountable that way. And if we had a restorative practices coordinator on each campus, we could make a huge difference. And I just would like you guys to consider that when you are looking at budget and things that we need. There's a lot of teachers, me included, we are so willing to do this, but our hands are tied, and right now we have a 10-minute advisory 4 days a week, every other week. Really hard to do what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I know you're a plus teacher and you work really hard at Toronas. And that's a great idea. I'm going to put that down in my notes. I know that the restorative practice is new to the Sunnyside area, and I'm not sure how exactly it works. But when you talk about class sizes, in 12-13, we had 488 classes out of 2,000 classes, more than 37. And we have progressed to now 62 classes over 37. And then another 68 classes under 20 in our core classes. So we do have our eye on it. We're not there. We're not there yet. Who asked about the classroom sizes? But I believe we'll get there. This is some stats that I got back in February 10th, 2017. So we are tracking it. Thank you.
I'm going to go back to Mike 1.
Hi, my name is Romel Contreras. I'm an art teacher over at McLane High School. I've been there for 8 years, and I have a very good relationship with my students. And this year, I was assaulted by a student that had assaulted other members in Fresno Unified before. And so my question was, how can we, teachers, students, community members, parents, work together to create a safer learning environment for everybody in Fresno Unified?
Thank you for your question. Before we go any further, we've had a new board member just join us, Elizabeth Jonathan Rosas. If you could introduce yourself.
Perfect. I was trying to figure out how to work the microphone. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. Thank you to the organizers of this event. There's a lot of people here today that I'm sure could be at home or doing some other some other fun activities. So I appreciate having these community forums because I think it's an important opportunity for all of us to be engaged and hear from you as the people that serve our kids on a day-to-day basis. So as was mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Jonathan Rosas. I represent the Roosevelt High area, recently elected to the board. So a few months in, already under the fire, but good. I'm excited about some of the new changes and some of the things that we can accomplish together, and I'm excited to hear from you today. Thanks.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think your question was about educators and parents working together.
Yeah, community.
Can someone respond to that from the panel?
Well, I think the question was about how to make it safer on campus, and yes, that includes educators and parents, but I think it also includes partnering with the police department so that we have safer campuses and safer neighborhoods. And in terms of keeping a safer campus, I like having officers on our campuses. I also think that we need to do more, as I said, in terms of student discipline to set more of a tone on the campus. And I think we could probably ask Parent University to do more about impressing upon our parents that they have a role and a responsibility for making sure that their student behaves on our campus.
Thank you, Carol. I want to remind folks that we've got a lot of folks in line. Please keep your questions or comments to 30 seconds. And panelists, if we could try to keep our responses to about a minute, minute and a half. I would be remiss, I think the gentleman that was just at the mic, where did he go? Did he go into the back? I just wanted to recognize him. He had a situation at McLane High School recently where he was in an altercation with a student. So I think he's speaking from a very personal experience, but also here tonight saying that while that had happened to me, I also am still here to make sure that our school environments get better. So I want to thank you for being here tonight, sir.
Sure. Louis? So I did not catch his name, but the gentleman, if you come to the mic, please speak loudly because it's hard for us to hear up here. But did I hear him correctly? I don't know where he went, but I hear him correctly that, there he is right there. Thank you. Did I hear you correctly that you were assaulted by a student?
Yes.
And you were hit by a student?
Yeah.
So from me, my standpoint is this. You hit a teacher, one, you're done. One and done. For me, that's it. That's one of the 7 deadly sins. You're out of school. We're just not gonna, for me, I'm not gonna tolerate that. So I want you to know from one board member to you, I'm fighting for that. That's not gonna happen no more.
Thank you. Thank you. You can sit down.
I like to say that my daughter is a school teacher, and right next to her campus, PD has flagged that building. It's an apartment building with a number on it. So my daughter works in a very dangerous area. PD has already got it on the map. So it is very scary. It is it's very unnerving to know if my daughter will come home safe after work, and she's a teacher. So safety in our neighborhoods and safety of our schools is just paramount. It's just paramount. And we have to be smarter. We have to watch where we are, what we're doing, and a lot of times it is our students. A lot of times it is our community, our neighborhoods that we work in. So I would just say that, yes, we do have PD on campus. Get to know them. Show up.
Thank you. So before I go to microphone 2, I'm going to give Claudia Casares a minute to introduce herself. Claudia.
Hi, good evening. My name is Claudia Casares. I'm trustee for the Hoover area region here in Fresno Unified. Thank you for welcoming us here tonight. I'm excited to be on the board. I'm here to represent all of our students in all of the areas of the city of Fresno, and I'm excited to move forward with this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike 2.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. My name is Janelle Beeman. I'm a registered nurse, credentialed school nurse with the district. I have Roosevelt High School and Cambridge Continuation School and special education for any student that's enrolled in my district, in my area. I just want to address the safety issue and the issue about suspending and expelling students, because it seems like administrators' hands have been tied in the past with expelling students. And Ms. Davis, that parent, I sure would have liked to known what her student had done, because it seems like it takes an act of God to get a student suspended or expelled. We have on-campus detention, and every day I get a list of those students. Our Roosevelt teachers can concur, and it is almost always the same students every day on that list. I know who they are because they're in my office all the time. These students know they can disrespect, cuss, and act any way they want to because they're just going to be sent back to class the very next day to do it all over again. I also want to say that being at Cambridge has been a new experience for me because I go to a school where these students are troubled. They've been sent from other schools. They have multiple issues, but there's no full-time psychologist. There's no full-time nurse. There's no supports there. And their attendance, about 25% to 30% of the kids don't even show up. I email Vanjie, our SARB person, and she says, Janelle, there's nothing I can do. We have no officers that go out and check on attendance anymore. I'm a one person working by myself. So you want to talk about money for the district? How about ADA? Nobody cares about attendance anymore. So hello, you want to open more schools, and I'm all for Phoenix, put a full-time nurse there. These kids have psychological issues, they need medication, they need supports, and so do our continuation schools. I get there once every 3 weeks. Thank you for listening to me.
So, again, I know we're very passionate about these issues. I really need you to keep your questions or comments to 30 seconds. Would someone like to respond?
Sure,
Elizabeth.
I'll respond. And I think some of the issues that you mentioned are some of the issues why I decided to run. And in all reality, we have a lot of kids in our district that have issues going on at home, and they translate those into the classroom in different behaviors, and that are often disruptive to the teacher, the classroom, and interrupt the learning of other kids. And so we really need to make sure that we're providing the support systems that those kids need so that they can be able to learn and be productive and provide a safe environment for our teachers, because you don't want to go to work any day and feel threatened. Just like our kids want to feel safe, our teachers need to feel safe as well. So,
thank you. Microphone 1.
Buenas noches. My name is Javier Guzman. I'm from the Chicano Youth Center. We were the ones that in 2009 actually brought the issue of the dropout rate to fruition. And tonight I have 2 comments and 1 recommendation. And I'll get with the recommendation first. I would like to recommend that the board really consider getting clean and accurate data regarding the dropout rate. And please break it down by ethnicity, and also try to differentiate between the kids that drop out of school and whether they're part of the data for the kids that enter charter schools. You know, okay? My comments are very straightforward. We all know that Fresno Unified School District has a number of schools that suffer from a large amount of a disproportionate amount of children that are whose lives suffer instability on a daily basis. For that reason, I think that we should think about developing a wellness center in each one of those schools that is considered a high-risk school. And that wellness center would then use mid-level practitioners, so you don't have to pay $300,000 for a psychiatrist to deal with and assist the children in their problems associated with instability. Again, the instability is created because of their lives. And then the third comment I have is basically congratulating you and the school board for having this today, and to also let you know, you have a new board. You will soon have a new superintendent, and that new superintendent will bring in a new management team. And I hope that by the end of that you truly adopt some accountability measures, some transparency measures, and truly make this and embrace cultural diversity in our community. Thank you.
So before we get a comment, I'm actually going to move to mic 2.
My name is Emily Brandt. I'm a teacher at Bullard High School. I want to represent the view, which sounds like a minority view here, and ask a question about why restorative practices has been introduced in such a low-level way. We know that the only way restorative justice works is when the entire community, including the police department and all the schools, the school board, are invested in it completely. And furthermore, given the fact that our district is a very poor district, we have high rates of poverty, high rates of disease, because as we just learned from articles in the Bee, we have a very toxic west side and other parts of the city where there are literally toxic dumps where people live close to schools. We also have a high lead content in the water. And I'm very concerned about the fact that these have an impact on school performance. They impact the social, emotional, and medical. I'm agreeing with the wellness thing. Why hasn't the district invested more effort into global restorative practices? Thank you.
So, Ms. Brandt, thank you for teaching at Bullard High School. I think we could be here all night with that loaded question or questions. Let me just attack a couple of those if I can. Why have we done restorative justice in a low-level way? It seems to me that we do a lot of things in a low-level way, and we gotta change the way that we do business. And we do a lot. There is a lot of good that comes from the district, but some of the things that we do aren't so hot. So what I've done is I've instituted the SAI from Fresno Pacific, that is really the gurus of this restorative practices, right? And Lisa Smittcamp, and Rick Chavez, a chief probation officer, and Amber Dorsey from our offices, and some others in Reedley, where they're doing restorative practices very, very well. We're gonna be in the room together in the next 30 days, and we're gonna figure out this restorative practices deal, and we're gonna do it the right way. We're gonna figure out, the courts are running it a lot different than we are, and it amazes me that Fresno Unified never went to the courts and said, how do we do this? I can't figure, I'm trying to understand this disconnect, but we've done it, and now we're gonna fix it. So with regards to the wellness centers that came from over here, so we are putting wellness centers on our campuses. Originally, Fresno Unified was gonna put 6. And now we have a commitment from Valley Children's, who's funding those centers, that they're gonna put 30. And so we have a lot that are coming. We understand the importance of this. Can we address all of the issues of lead and the water? I mean, global warming, right? There's a lot to your question. But with regards to health, we're very sensitive to that, and this board is responding. With regards to restorative justice, as me as board president this year, I'm putting those people in the room. We're gonna get this thing figured out, but then again, it's not for everybody or every solution, but we can at least do, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. I understand.
Thank you. So, 30 seconds. Let me try this one more time. If you say "and" in addition to, that's too long. So quick, or I'm gonna start cutting the mics off. So mic 1.
Good afternoon. I'm Russell Allen. I am the math department of DeWolf High School. I get many kids whose grade levels are so far behind where they are. There's another side to accountability for students. It's called academic accountability. Social promotion creates frustrated individuals who cannot perform at the level that they've been put into. What we really need is to have successful students and perhaps a sidesteps program, and you don't pass from first grade until you have first grade skills. How are you gonna survive second grade if you don't?
Thank you.
I get them at 12th grade.
Thank you.
And they're floundering.
Thank you.
Please fix it.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to, before we get a response, I'm gonna go to mic 2.
My name is Robert Ho, and I'm the RC teacher at Fresno High School. I've had 1,500 classroom suspensions. I'm there by myself. This is absurd. I have kids who've been in there 40 and 50 times with no real intervention. This is not working.
Thank you. Would anyone like to respond? Carol.
Well, and thank you, Bob, for pointing that out. I know that that's not an acceptable situation, but that's when I said earlier we need to increase capacity at Phoenix, and if we have perpetual suspensions, these people need to be in the setting at Phoenix where we can focus the social emotional support, treat the whole family, and find out the problem, because we can't focus that support at 104 schools. We simply do not have the funding, and we will never have the funding to do that at 104 schools. We have to focus it at certain schools. In terms of the social promotion, I agree. It'd be great if you have them at grade level that you don't get promoted, but you realize in California, it takes parental consent to hold a child back. So if teachers don't feel they should be promoted, help us get parental consent to hold that student back so they can learn.
Thank you. So we've talked about restorative justice. We've talked about academic accountability. I'm going to go to the mics now, but I want you to have a different comment than those two. So let me go here to mic 1.
Okay, my name is Abel Parra Gutierrez, and talking about the idea of those new members getting into connection with parents, teachers, that's good. And this question is for Valerie Davis. Valerie Davis, have you ever heard about the administration sending lowest score students and discipline problem students to one single classroom because he was or she was an outspoken teacher?
An outspoken teacher?
Outspoken teacher, yes, like representative teachers, representatives of the union.
Oh, okay. We had some timeout classrooms. We had some support where if on school suspension, we had a classroom teacher in one classroom. I'm not sure what we're doing.
Yeah, but sometimes the administration sends the lowest score students and the discipline
you mean cherry picking?
To one single teacher. Maybe there might be some examples here.
Okay. Okay. Retaliation, cherry picking?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna go to mic 2.
Okay.
Sharon Hollis, Hidalgo Elementary. I'm special day 456, mild moderate. A question about restorative practices and restorative justice. In third graders who need to be in a day suspension because suspended from a class, placed in another classroom, in a 6th grade classroom, where a 6th grade teacher can manage 3rd grade misbehaviors. What I'd like to suggest is that we use our facilities better, that our counselors not be placed in a corner office, or a restorative practices coordinators be set in a separate office near the office, but be placed in a classroom where they can deal immediately with the problems. And instead of, in place of the Boys to Men and the after-school cards club and the game day for the detention or standing the fence at recess, be in that classroom where those counselors are placed, where they are visible and they are available for the entire school day.
Thank you. Anyone want to respond?
Well, the Boys to Men program and Girl Club and our, that's a structured class, and it is voluntary, but we kind of recruit for that.
The kids who are recruited for that are the ones who were sent on day suspension, day suspension, day suspension, day suspension, and are serving in there.
Okay. We don't have them at all of the elementary schools.
No. At Hidalgo, it's happening that way. The Boys to Men kids, or the Cards Club, or the game day, or are the kids who the counselor sits with and plays games. I understand the principle for that, but they first need to be in an academic place with a counselor who can serve their needs in a classroom, not a little side office, a cubby, where 5 kids and 1 adult spend day after day after day after day. Go back to class.
Thank you to Mike, too. I've got to speed it up. I'm sorry, Sharon. I got to keep things moving.
Is it also a lunchtime type of structure? I've been to a bear den.
I want to be fair to everyone.
I'm just suggesting that we set up a classroom that is intended for restorative practices, skills practicing.
So I want to be fair to everyone tonight. We've talked a lot about restorative justice. If you've got a comment and you're at the mic about restorative justice, please take a seat. We're going to leave that. We've talked about that issue. I want to hear a different topic. So let me go to mic 1 and see if there's something new.
My name is John Lorenko. I teach at Cambridge High School. First, for Trustee Mills, I know you've said lots of good things about Phoenix. That's the high level. You probably need to implement an intermediate level at our intermediate schools like Cambridge, DeWolf, J.E. Young. Have the supports there like Phoenix does, maybe not to the extreme level they have, but at a moderate level at your moderate level school. To Trustee Ashgian, don't just build one, build 4. And divide up and make sure that the numbers are down, because when you have a tier structure, 1 through 3, that's reversed at one of those campuses, the amount of support that's needed and the class sizes need to be smaller on the size and higher on the support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
So
your
hold
work.
on, before Brooke and Valerie, you responded, Elizabeth was going to respond. Can you please?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to the last commenter, I thought that was a good idea, actually a pretty great idea. I wrote it down and we'll follow up. It's about building relationships and having those adults in the room. I think will demonstrate to our kids that they care, that they're there and they care and they're there, that presence is there for them. So I think it's a good idea to have those people in the classroom as much as possible.
Well,
Carol?
I was going to say, I agree it's a good idea to add some more support to the alternative schools, but those are only high schools, and we have students at middle school and elementary school who are disrupting the classroom on a regular basis, and our option for them is to create space at Phoenix, and that's basically our only option right now.
So I've got to ask folks at the mic to wait. We're gonna move forward. You can stay in line. You don't have to sit down. I want to go to slide 11. I want to show a couple of more data points related to sustaining a positive learning environment. So my school site has adequate social emotional supports for students. Nurse Janelle was talking about this issue earlier. You can see from the folks who responded that overwhelmingly 66% of the folks are saying they disagree with that. We need more supports, social emotional supports for our students outside of the classroom. Let me just try to summarize this section. We're going to move to topic number 2. Again, you can stay at the mics if you would like to. So here's what I'm hearing tonight. We've got an issue with class sizes. We have an issue with restorative practices, restorative justice. We have an issue with how discipline is being handled. And all of those issues sort of lead to, in some places, a crisis for how we are helping or hurting our students. I agree with everything that's said. I mean, sometimes as an African American, I hear people talking about we've got to treat them differently. If you treat them differently, you're going to fail them later. So everyone should be held accountable. Everyone should be held accountable. There's a question of how we do this in a way that's equitable and fair. How do we make restorative justice, restorative practice work in an effective way so that we can give our students the resources they need in and out of the classroom? And so we've got work to do. I'm going to shift quickly to topic number 2, sustaining professional educators. Slide 12, please. For my educators in the audience, rate the importance of professional autonomy in creating a positive learning environment. Before I even show you the data, can I just ask folks to stand up if you believe that professional autonomy is important in creating a positive learning environment? Yeah, that's what I thought. Give yourselves a round of applause for standing up. Slide 13, let's see what folks said. Wow. So 90%, again, of hundreds and hundreds of folks who responded to this survey said it is important and very important to have professional autonomy to help create a positive learning environment. So let me ask another question. Let's go to slide 14 real quick. Rate the importance of curricular decisions in creating a positive learning environment. So you've got professional autonomy on one side, and then you've got curricular decisions. So let me ask again. Please stand up if you think it's important for you all to have your curricular decisions in your hands in terms of helping us create a better learning environment. I see people standing and waving for this one. Absolutely. Thank you. You can be seated. Let me show you the data from this particular survey question. Again, very high, 88% of you saying it's important and very important curricular decisions to creating a positive learning environment. So here's the second question tonight for our panel. This again was a question that came up again and again and again during surveys. Here's the question. Do you view teachers as professionals? If so, what is your plan to allow for more autonomy in your classrooms? So I'm going to give the panel a moment to respond. And if you have a question that's not related to this topic, we can come back to it later, but we need you to speak to topic number 2. So panel, why don't we start with Claudia tonight on this one? Thank you.
Well, being new on the board, I think that I really look to my colleagues for leadership on this topic, as well as you as teachers. I understand that each of our neighborhoods have distinct needs, each of our children have distinct needs and come from distinct backgrounds, and so you took a job as a teacher to help those students and not to go down a path where you're told exactly what to do, at what time of the day, what clothes to wear, and when to smile and when not to smile. So I appreciate that you know what's best for your children, and moving forward on the board, as I see that we could help make sure that you have authority over your class and what your children learn in your classroom, I'd be very supportive of that.
Why don't we go to Elizabeth?
Thank you, and I think this is very important. I think the key word there is professionals. You are professionals, experts in your field. That's ultimately the bottom line, and you know, in my experience, of course, I taught at Fresno State. It's quite a bit different, but I will say that I was not subject to a lot of the restrictions, and I don't know how I would have been able to teach my class subject to all those restrictions that you all face, because each class is different. Each group of kids is different. And so being able to pick the supplemental material, when you put it and where, what lesson you teach first, what lesson you teach last, all of those are critical, not only for you to feel, you know, that you're doing the best job that you can, but also because you're tailoring it to how those kids feel that day. What was the environment? You know, there's a lot of different factors that go into planning your lesson plan that change even by the week. And so you having the flexibility allows you to better serve our students.
Thank you. Carol?
I think anybody who has a college degree and went to the trouble to get it and to earn a certificate as a teacher should be viewed as a professional. And I imagine it's pretty frustrating when you don't get treated as professionals. I mean, as a lawyer, it's frustrating when people don't listen to you as the lawyer either. So I can appreciate some of that. In terms of creating more autonomy, I think what Trustee Cazares said, I mean, I don't think we should be dictating exactly what you do every minute of the day. I mean, there has to be the basic expectation that you get a classroom full of students. By the end of the school year, you have moved them forward, and that you're teaching, you know, the standard California curriculum. I think there needs to be some flexibility about how you get the student to that point, depending on the needs of the students.
Thank you. Tish?
So it's great to hear from our trustees, because I hear all the time when I go to school sites that educators are tired of sitting in meetings that are disconnected for what they need to actually be successful in the classroom. The next thing that is troublesome that I hear when I go out to school sites is everyone is supposed to teach from the same book at the same time of day on the same page under the guise of guaranteed and viable curriculum. However, the teaching of this canned curriculum, lockstep, has hurt the learning environment, because we teach human beings. We are human beings, not robots, folks.
So why don't we do this? Before I let Valerie and Brooke respond, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a question, and I'll call on you two first. So let me go to mic 1.
My name is Olga Valle, former teacher, Fresno Unified, advocate, former CAC chair for special education. Yes, we should view teachers as professionals, and as professionals, you need to give them the resources, actually give them to them, not promise them, and also those children that you have too many, you're sending them to Phoenix. Well, they have smaller class sizes, they have the resources, and the children that have special needs, they're also entitled to be in the schools. Fresno Unified is spending millions fighting against children's rights that are state, federal rights. So please give these teachers, because I've been in their classrooms, they're wonderful, they try as hard as they can, but a lot of the aids were taken away. How do you deal with so many special needs children with another aid when they all had one-to-one aids? So please spend the money where it really is meant for the children, not for the attorneys in the district.
Thank you. Brooke or Valerie, would you like to respond? Valerie?
That last speaker that talked about the pacing guide, hour by hour, moment by moment, I'm really bothered by that. I know that there's a pacing guide, but as my colleague said here, you know that every class is different. You know that every period is different, and you pray for that good period, either before lunch or after lunch. So about your meetings, I used to go to a lot of the meetings and to see that the professional development, to see that you were engaged. And I would show up and see that, you know, some of you were correcting papers, some of you were, you know, doing other things besides doing what the professional development was selling that day. So I would hope that you invite me to some of your meetings so I can enjoy and see what's going on too. But I do go to a lot of meetings within my region so I can see what's going on and see where our strengths are and where we need more support.
Thank you. I'm going to go to mic 2.
My name is Randy Rios. I'm a functional skills teacher, or what you might refer to as a special day class teacher for students with moderate to severe needs. And these is a specialty group, a very small group you might think within the district. I have 28 years experience, and yes, I am a professional, and I have a master's degree, which is worth $9 a month. However, what I'm asking is that you take a good look at your spectrum of services within special education. You cannot put all these kids with multiple needs in one classroom. This year, I have 13 students, and some of my colleagues have up to 16 students with special needs. It is not a safe, healthy learning environment, nor a positive learning environment when you have students with emotional needs mixed with students that are very vulnerable and cannot defend themselves. You have students that are assaulting other students within our special needs classrooms, and we cannot continue to do this. So please, let's look at this spectrum of services for our most fragile students.
Thank you. I'm actually going to go to mic 1. Again, I want to remind folks, 30 seconds. Let's go.
Okay, I'm Kathy Franson from Tenaya Middle School. I've taught for 21 years. When you talk about class sizes, you need to also consider at the secondary level how many students are on a teacher's caseload in a given day. Because those kids who are not in the seats because they're absent, they show back up, and we need to tutor them and help them and bring them along. So the more students we have in any given day to respond to their writing, their reading, to be able to have meaningful conversations about where they need to go next, which a professional wants to be able to do, we need lower caseloads.
Thank you. Brooke, do you want to respond?
Sure. Great to see you, Ms. Franson. She's a fantastic teacher at Tenaya. I understand what you're saying as far as caseloads, and I think that that's a very important point. Going back to Ms. Rios, with the teacher that has moderate to severe children's needs in her classroom, and my hat is off to you for 28 years of experience. My grandmother taught at Rataw for 28 years, so I understand what it means to be around, to teach, to mentor the special needs, and I think that we can do better. I think we can do a lot better with that. I don't understand, for the life of me, I don't understand why a teacher would go and get a master's to be paid $9. Makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I personally, as one of 7, know that we can do better with that. And if I could just go back just up a couple of slides here. We talked about slide 12, where he was showing the professional autonomy, and slide 11. Let's do slide 11 first, the social emotional support. So this board, in its budget, had 1 psychologist to be hired. We moved it to 5, with the anticipation that it's going to be growing and more, because we sense and we know that it's very important to have school psychologists. We just can't eat the whole elephant in one bite, and we're going to get there. I promise you, we're going to get there. We went from 10 health aides, and if there's a health aide out there, I'm sorry, I don't know what a health aide does. But we went from 10 or 12 of those. We went to 19 LVNs. We're going to hire more nurses. We understand the principle of what you're saying, that our kids need better health care. We get that. On slide 12, we were talking about a professional autonomy. Is the one guy here, the 1% that said he didn't want that? Well, can he stand up? I'm looking for that guy. So I think that the message really is loud and clear. I can tell you that sometimes I have the opportunity to fly, and I fly with a licensed pilot, and by no means would I tell him how to do his job, because bad things happen when those things happen. So I understand that.
Brooke, I'm going to go to Mike 2.
Good evening. My name is Terry Reichert. I'm a credentialed school nurse here for Fresno Unified. I'd like to clarify, I appreciate your help with the 19 nurses, but there is a difference between a credentialed school nurse and an LVN. We have discussed this several times. We are down to 40 nurses by the time we start school next year. The LVNs, the health aides, cannot use critical thinking because they don't have it. They don't have more than 18 months of school. I'm not demeaning them. However, you need credentialed school nurses at every school site, not simply health aides or LVNs.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mike 1.
Okay, my name is Mary Fierro. I am president of the local AME chapter, and I want to, my comment is in regards to our English learners, and the lady that spoke about aides, having aides in the classroom, that is really necessary, I have found. I speak Spanish, but I don't speak Hmong, and I had several Hmong students in my class, and that aide, thanks to God, we got them ready for first grade and kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you. So does anyone want to respond to registered nurse comment and to the aides in the classroom? Elizabeth.
I think I'll speak more broadly to English language learners. It's an area, Roosevelt region has, I think, the largest concentration of English language learners, and it's something that's important that we provide adequate services, because we have to start early in making sure that those kids are proficient in English, or else it'll just drag down for the rest of their career. And I think part of it, and I don't know if it was mentioned prior to me getting there, is making sure that we're implementing our English language learner master plan and providing an update on that and where we are. A part of including the recent passage of proposition, I forget the exact number, but that allows us to expand bilingual and dual immersion programs. I think that's an investment in the right direction, making sure that our kids have access to dual immersion programs and opportunities for learning other languages.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mike. Oh, Claudia. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Hold on just a second. We're going to go to Claudia first. I'll be right with you, sir. Hold on just a second. Go ahead, Claudia.
As a parent of a frequent user of the school nurse at Yokomi, I want to say that I truly appreciate all of our school nurses and our LVNs and our health aide. I know we've made it a priority to make sure that those are fully funded and that we could add as many as possible, just as we could add school psychologists to the budget. I think that it's inconceivable that any one of our schools would go at any time without a health assistant or LVN or a nurse. Our children are accident prone, mine in particular, and I think that we need to make sure that we attend to those needs of our children while they're there at school.
Thank you. Mike 2.
Good evening. I'm standing back from this a little bit so that to make sure that you can hear me. Can you hear me? Good. My name is Patrick Tromborg. I teach at Roosevelt High School. Thank you. Every one of us in this room, every one of you on that stage, and all the people that couldn't be here tonight are a part of this because we want our children to grow and to learn and to be decent human beings so that they can run the world 20 years from now. I thank you for being here, and I pray that we can, we're in church, so it's okay. I pray that we can find a way to work together to create a new administration where teachers are, and all support staff are seen as the solution and not the problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well put. Well put, Mr. Tromberg.
Hold on 1 second. Okay.
Well put, Mr. Tromberg. Very well put. We kicked around having some of the conversations regarding the nurses was to talk about maybe a cohort to get that credential. So it's not fallen on deaf ears. Okay, just want to let you know. And the LVN, I do know the difference between the LVN and the RN. So we're working on that. And in regards to caseloads, paperwork drives the world. Paperwork makes the world go round. So having smaller and less and using more is very important to me. Thank you, Ms. Franzen. Where are you? Thank you. Okay, paperwork and caseloads is different from classroom head count. So I understand that completely. And the SPED services, the needs, our children have very varying, diverse needs as well. So I'm not sure what the head count is or how we best support our special ed teachers with more service and more teacher's aides. That's very important.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mike 1.
Lynette, an elementary school in the Sunnyside region. And Brooke, I'm going to trust you to lead the charge that you pass down this information to principals at school sites that assaulting a teacher and repeatedly assaulting other kids is not okay. Because an elementary school site teacher at our site, and I'm not going to say, I made a promise, was assaulted last year, went out with a concussion, the child got 1 day suspension. You need to hold the principals and the administrators accountable.
Thank you.
Lewis, I didn't catch her name. Yeah, what was your name?
Lynette.
Lynette. Lynette, let me reiterate so that you can see it from my lips. One and done.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mike 2.
Hi, I'm a parent and I'm a paraprofessional at Viking Elementary. I work for 3 hours. I give my time of 6 hours and past. We have wonderful teachers there. As you can see here, everybody's here. But please stop having them that they have got to let kids stay in the classroom that have lice. As a parent, I do not want my child coming home because they have put a kid back in the classroom with lice. This is ridiculous. As a teacher, helping them, come on, it's one shampoo can do it. And now they've upped it so the shampoo is just one time a deal. Please stop putting him back in the classroom.
Thank you.
Thank
Carol.
you. I want to say something on that, Lewis.
There was a board policy on that. I voted against it. So we need to revisit that one so that they're not back in the classroom.
Thank you. I'm going to go to mic 1.
Hello, I'm Marcia. I'm from Williams Elementary, and I'm with several of my people, and we love our school. We support our children there. It is a very interesting neighborhood, and to support the teachers, it would be lovely if we all felt safe, administrators and staff. People can walk into our school and get anywhere. They can walk right into classrooms. There is no office right in front. So it happened last week. A parent came in, they went down the hall, and they started chewing someone out. And the kids are watching, and we don't feel safe. Okay, I know I'm in a hurry. All right, and another thing.
That's 30 seconds.
Oh, no. You're going to hear this. Okay, so there's a thing. You will like it, I promise.
10 seconds.
I promise. Okay, I'm a board-certified associate behavioral analyst. There's a thing called ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis. There are schools in Orange County, in LA County. They're putting together behavior teams with behavioral analysts. You could hire RBTs, registered behavioral therapists, that could be trained and certified. You could get them for minimum wage and a little bit more. And you could have people like me or other board-certified people supervise them, and we could have behavior change outside of the classroom, in the hallways, or in a change room, or something like that.
Thank you. I'm going to go to mic 2. Mic 2.
Hi, Patty Morrison, Viking Elementary Kindergarten. When I saw the proposal of the not having the autonomy of my 8th hour, I am concerned. I am not allowed to start my clock until 7:50. I have to stay at my site till 3:20 because I'm a designated school. I would add that till 4:20. When do I go to the doctor? When do I go to the dentist? When do I take my child to the doctor? When do I take my child to the dentist? When do I have to take another sub day to go to the doctor? Because I can't leave my site because I'm not an autonomous person who can say when I do my work.
Thank you. I want to remind folks we're going to talk bargaining issues at the end, but thank you. I'm going to go to mic 1.
I'm Levia Walker. I'm blessed to work at Hidalgo Elementary School. I've been there for 22 years. I've taught bilingual and English, and I'm a kindergarten teacher. And what I want to address is the fact that our class sizes and our autonomy are both hand in hand, because as a professional, I know that my students need, not just me, when we have numbers like 27, 28, 29 kindergarten students in a classroom that's not even a kindergarten classroom, it's a small classroom, we need another adult with us all day, not just the 3 hours. With all the material that we have to teach them, I am no longer teaching kindergarten. I am teaching first grade and second grade level material in kindergarten to students that I'm teaching English. So I need the board to help provide bilingual aids or just an aid to help so that we can meet the goals that we need. We want to do it, but we know that we alone cannot do it. We need another body when we have that many children to reach them all and be fair to all the students.
Thank you. I'm going to go to mic 2.
Yes, my name is Veronique Segala, and I've been a special ed teacher for the last 20 years. I'm currently teaching at Fort Miller. The majority of my students, my lowest reader is pre-K. My highest reader is 3rd grade in my SEC class. Yet we are required to teach the springboard material for all my 7th graders. When at the last training that I went, we had a group of 6 teachers, all with master's degree, that couldn't figure out the answer of the springboard material for 7th grade. So when I bring up the subject to special ed, I was told, I'm sorry, there's no budget there's no money in the budget for a special teaching program for SDC kids. We need to fix that. What can we do?
Thank you. Would anyone on the panel like to respond?
So
anyone want to?
I need her to come back. So I need some help on this because you're speaking. This is like dual immersion here, right? Okay. So You're saying that your students in 7th grade are pre-K
Yes, sir.
or 3rd grade at a maximum reading level, and you're required to teach them 7th grade material?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm very fortunate and have a awesome principal who pretty much tells me, and the rest of our team, you do what you got to do, I got your back. But the district is still pushing that we have to go to trainings to teach Springboard when the kids, oh, well, you know, they can circle the words that they don't understand. Okay, that's the whole page. Right? I mean, it makes no sense.
Thank you. Let me
Absolutely no
let,
sense.
I want Brooke to finish responding.
So, in your principal is Mr. Jones?
Yes.
He's incredible.
He is.
So I don't understand all of the issues you're talking about. I do understand the pre-K, the 3rd grade, the 7th grade, okay? I think that we could all agree that probably Ray Charles could see that. Right? I think that we understand that one. So I think that all of us heard that. We're gonna work on that, and we're gonna get back at an answer.
Thanks, Brooke. Mike 1.
Hi, I'm Kathy McDonald. I'm a plus teacher from Duncan. I'm out currently on disability, but I'm still a teacher. I really want to thank you for being here, and I really appreciate all of the nice things that you have said about teachers. It's very heartwarming, and it's well-deserved. However, I'm confused when I look at the district's proposal for our new contract that you're sending to us, and I'm looking at all of the things.
I'm sorry, Kathy, I can't do bargaining right now. I just need you to hold on to that to a little later.
I'm just confused about things that say you want to punish teachers, but you like us, you think we're doing a good job. I do too. Let's show that.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to Mike 2.
Good evening. My name is Zenna Wycliffe. I'm a speech-language pathologist here in the district. I'm one of 70-plus speech-language pathologists here, and I would have to say, as a group, we are a very dedicated, hardworking group, play an intricate role in special ed students and their success. It can make our job when we talk about class size numbers. When we talk about special ed, we talk about caseload numbers, and it can make reaching the students to the level that they need very difficult when our caseloads are very high. We love our students and we want them to be successful. Communication is something that goes across all people to help them be successful in life. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone want to respond? Carol.
Thank you. I'm one of those students who had speech therapy for several years as a child because I had a significantly bad lisp and couldn't pronounce words and letters. If you say we need more speech therapists, how many more do we need? Okay.
How many schools you got?
One at every school site.
Okay.
I have a question.
Thank you. So just a second, I'm going to go to Mike 1.
Hi, I'm Tamara Smith from Tioga Middle School, special ed teacher. Time that teachers spend outside their classroom working on things, I can't even begin to add the amount of hours. I'd like to suggest that maybe instead of a pep rally to start off our year, that you give us extra time in our classroom and cancel convocation. It's a waste of money.
Anyone want to respond to that?
So,
Valerie's going to respond.
I want to speak about the speech pathologists. So we have 70, and you just don't work with special ed students. There are some other students that you work with pull out or teacher parent recommendation. So what does it look like? How many kids do we impact? How many kids do you impact district-wide out of thousands, and I would imagine? Okay. 65 speech students? Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
There are hundreds and hundreds in the district.
Hundreds and hundreds. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank
That helps
you.
a lot.
I have a question for her. The lady over here in the front, what is your name? Yes. So Darcy, you're saying at one school, one speech pathologist deals with 65 kids?
Or more because they don't have just one school.
Wow. And so do you have more than one school? Okay. 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 Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we want to go quickly to some more information. Just stay put at the mics. If we could pull up slide 17. The district's current evaluation system helps me improve as an educator. If you disagree with that or strongly disagree, please stand up. Yeah. So why don't we pull up the data? So yes, most folks in the district are saying that the current evaluation system does not work in the way that it should work. I don't have a slide for this, but I'm curious about something. Please stand up if you agree or agree strongly that the district's current number of required meeting hours is a bit too much. Anybody? Okay. Yes. So let me spend a moment and try to pull all this together. So class sizes are a problem, too many kids. We've got safety and discipline not being done the right way. We have an evaluation system that's not helping you grow as professionals. You don't have enough autonomy. You don't make curricular decisions. Problem after problem after problem. And yet you all have solutions. So why is it that the problems and solutions aren't meeting and coming up with workable results? Don't answer that. Just hold on to that thought for a moment. Here's what we are. All of that lack of professional autonomy, that lack of curricular decisions, the sort of status quo of the evaluation system, the too many meeting hours, all of that is about leadership. So we're going to talk this next topic, our last topic of tonight, about choosing the next superintendent for our school district. We're going to do this topic a little different. We're going to start with a question that came out of the survey. If we could pull up slide 19. And this question is directed to our panel. How much input will teachers have in the selection process? And, in your opinion, what are the most important qualities, experience in the next superintendent? So start lining up while the panel responds to this question. And why don't we start with Brooke?
So I have said publicly on many occasions that I believe that the selection process should be a public, very transparent process. Now, that being said, I think that it's going to be important for FTA and for the teachers to help us in our different regions once we have the contract in hand with the firm that we've hired, to be able to organize those groups so that we can hear, we can go to meetings and we can hear and we can listen on the things that you're looking for. And I think it's very important. Some of the characteristics or traits. First of all, I heard you loud and clear about convocation. I got it. Some of the characters and traits that we're looking for. You know, sometimes when you come out of maybe a not so pleasant experience, you say, "Here's what I don't want." Right? Here's what I don't want. And instead of saying what am I willing? Instead of saying what I don't want to say is what am I willing to accept? I think we're done accepting, and I think we should be requesting somebody, some man or some woman that's going to come and give us excellence. I think it's very important. What is excellence? Excellence in my mind means that he treats the board and the janitors the same. The true character, I think, of an individual is how do you treat somebody that can do nothing for you when nobody's looking? I think it's extremely important that we get to that position. I think our next superintendent has got to be warm and welcoming. I think our next superintendent needs to be extremely smart. I think our next superintendent needs to have an open door policy where they're willing to listen. If I was to pick what I'm looking for in a person, I would say to you, and maybe this is a little bit facetious, I know the news media is here, I would say to you that I would like to go find Joe Castro's twin, because I think he's doing a fantastic job at Fresno State. And I think that the characteristics and the humility, the drive and the vision to be bold that he's bringing is some of the characteristics we're looking for to make Fresno Unified. We might be the 4th largest district in the state, but I want to be the #1 in the state.
Thank you. My vision, is it on? Thank you, it's on. Okay, so Thursday, we have a goal-setting meeting. It is open, right? No? Yes. Yes, it is open. Yes, Thursday we have a board meeting, and it will be goal-setting for our superintendent, for what we want to see in our leadership. And what I'm looking for, what is my vision? My vision is that we have 100% of everything working all the time, every day, every hour. That's from our services to our parents and our students. And people say they want a superintendent that's colorblind. I don't want one that's colorblind. I want one that has his eyes wide open and knows the challenges and is not afraid of stepping out there and trying as hard as he can, to work as hard as he can for all of our children, regardless of what they look like and where they live, where they come from. I would like to have the stakeholders, genuine input. That's going to be a challenge because we need to have genuine input. We need to have more than just, a list of things you want, a check-off list, but some input of what we would like to do, what we would like to see. I was at a fundraiser on Saturday, and I've got some teachers that want to be on that selection process. So your voice is important. Your voice, not just as a teacher, but as a parent and as a community member in this community. And these kids are so cute. They're so distracting. They're wonderful. Thank you.
So it's important that we recognize the main reason we're here tonight. We wanted to bring students out on the stage so that you all could show how much you love and appreciate these kids. So if you could stand up for them and give them a round of applause. You can clap louder than that for these little ones. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There is a chance that because of the awesome work that you do, one of these students will be the next president of these United States. One of these students will be the next teacher in a classroom, the next registered nurse at our school site. They will be the next speech-language pathologist, the next electricians, the next plumbers. They will be the next school board members leading our district. They will be superintendents, not just here, but all over this country. They will be astronauts, they will be physicists, and one of them, maybe more of them, will find a cure to cancer, will heal some of you all as we all get older, right? So let's appreciate them now for what they're going to do in the future. Thank you all. Thank you, kids, for coming. Thank you very much. As you can see, we didn't script this part. They didn't know they were coming in here tonight. So thank them again. Bye. What an incredible responsibility, but also what an incredible opportunity we have to help make sure that this generation and the next generations are just incredible in everything that they do. So I want to thank you all again for your work. I want to go back to the board. Why don't we go to Claudia? The question about the next superintendent.
Sorry, Carol.
I know, I've been waiting.
But I want to make sure you knew that I would hope to select a superintendent that, above all, respects all of our workers, each one of you in this room, and each one that couldn't come tonight. It's very important to me that a superintendent is willing to work with all of their adversaries and the people that support them as well, over and over again, and that they leave their ego at the door, because that's how we're going to attend to our students.
Thank you. Carol?
Finally, I know, lawyers like to grab the mic, I know. I had a long list, so I'll give you the short list of things that I want to see in a superintendent. But first, I want to let you know the board took action to hire a search firm. There are people and search firms who help to recruit a superintendent who's a good match and a good fit for what this district decides it needs in a superintendent. So there should be a lot of community meetings and a lot of meetings with our staff to get your input in what type of qualities, what type of issues should be focused on. The qualities I want, number one is honesty. And number two is integrity. I want someone who does not divide the board. I want someone who is transparent and shares information with everyone on the board, not just some of the board members. I want somebody who takes direction from the board, because frankly, the board is accountable to all of you in the community. And if we're not voicing and voting the way you want, you should be voting us out of office. And that means the superintendent should be taking direction from the board. The board is supposed to be giving direction to a superintendent. I would like somebody who, as our teacher from Roosevelt said, looks at our professionals and our employees in this district as part of our solution to our challenges, not as the enemy and the problem. I would like somebody who has the strength and the willingness to terminate anyone who doesn't have these qualities and doesn't treat people in this manner. And that's along the lines of cutting unnecessary positions, which there are some that exist in some departments. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I've got more. And I would prefer, if possible, to have somebody who has experience with a diverse district, when it is as diverse as this, and preferably a large urban. I will also tell you that in terms of the process, while I agree there needs to be a lot of input and we need to be open and transparent about the process, I remember very clearly the search firms, the two top firms we were looking at, telling us that if we had any kind of an open interview process, we wouldn't get good candidates. So in terms of input for qualities in terms of knowing where we are in the stage, in terms of what the community wants. I think you need to have a lot of input, but I think the names of candidates and the interview process needs to be confidential, because I'm not willing to drive off good candidates because they won't go through an open process.
So I think this is obviously the most important decision that we as a board make, is who we hire as a superintendent. That person has a lot of responsibility and in carrying out the policies that the board puts forth. I think our board has come a long way. I wouldn't want to see a return to an era that was before me, where there was a lot of divisiveness and a lot of, I would just say, maybe not enough trust. So in terms of the process, I think in order to actually get the most successful superintendent, you need to involve the community. If you don't have an open, transparent, involved community process, you're not going to have buy-in, and ultimately your decision-making is affected. So I believe that not only is community input necessary from all the stakeholders, it is actually vital for us to be able to pick the right person. So it's not just lip service. You actually provide a service in terms of us being able to do our job in the most effective way. So forums like tonight are an example of that, where I have a lot of ideas from you that I will take back. Same thing with the superintendent. So I feel very strongly that there is definitely a seat at the table for teachers, and should be an integral part of our process. Teachers, staff, speech pathologists, nurses. As involved as you want to be is as involved as you will be. I want to be to the point where you're like, stop with the community meetings because it's too much. So that's about the process. In terms of a superintendent, I think character, those character principles that we teach our kids, we should be looking for in our superintendent. We need to have someone that understands our community, that loves our community, that loves Fresno as much as we do, that wants to invest in our community for the long haul and understands how important they are to the future success of Fresno, of the valley indeed. So I want someone that cares. I want someone that's experienced, of course. This is a very large urban district, someone who has experience with the programs, but also in managing a district at this size. And I also want someone who treats the board with respect and teaches everybody, treats everybody with respect, really. So.
So the only thing I would add is that our members have clearly communicated that they would like the next superintendent to have considerable classroom teaching experience so that he or she really truly understands the work our educators do day in and day out. So.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go to mic 1. 30 seconds.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alejandro Esquivel. I'm a student at Edison High School, and it was just a coincidence. I was just about to ask about the interim superintendent and all that situation. So I just wanted to point out that I care a lot, and I'm really worried for this situation that's going on, for the future of my education, and not only mine, but the future of every one of those kids that came up here. Like you guys said, they're the future doctors, they're the future nurses, the future principals, all that. So that's important, right? I want to ask, and I think that it's unacceptable how 7 people are going to make a decision that's going to affect the future generations of 104 schools for Fresno Unified. So I want to say that not only should input, like the word input, I don't like that word. I want a voting, so each and every one of you guys in here is important. Each and every one of you guys vote. You guys are going to choose the next superintendent, not those 7 people, all right? You guys are going to choose them.
Thank you. Mike 2. 30 seconds.
Thank you. My name is Annie Fabella, and I'm not really going to respond to the superintendent. I mean, you guys have
religious groups and all kinds of agencies around that you see in the news are saying we want to have a superintendent. So really parents, you don't hear much about, well, how are the parents going to play in, because you have all these different groups saying we're going to have a say in this. So I'm not going to speak on the superintendent. My name is Annie Fabella. My daughter goes to Bullard High School. And I'd like to say that seeing that teachers spend $2,000 or $3,000 in their classroom, my daughter needs tutoring that isn't provided by Fresno Unified at any high school. I go and ask for assistance in getting her that tutoring, which I have found. My district says no. But watching the board meeting last board meeting and seeing the budget where it says communication budget, and on it you see the line item community outreach, where you guys go out and have your parties and such, and have $225,000. And then community partnerships where you give money away to different agencies that have nothing to do with education, and yet you have teachers paying thousands of dollars to buy supplies for their own classroom, and you refuse to help parents who have gone out on their own to find tutoring for their children who need help, okay, because the district doesn't supply it. Okay.
All right, sir, I need you to speed it up, please.
But you guys have the gall to say, well, we're going to approve this. We're going to go out on your dime, okay, and drink and booze on your dime and have meals and so forth. The Marjorie Mason Center, the lady there, I heard her talking. She was saying,
sir, you got 10 seconds. I'm going to have to turn off the mic.
We need speech pathologists. We need so forth. We need tutoring and so forth. And I was like, but last thing she said was, the kids don't go to school from Marjorie Mason. And I was like, why not? Why aren't they going to Lowell, where they can get those services? But you guys want to do a budget update and give her that money just the same. I think it's ridiculous.
Thank you, sir.
It's appalling.
We're going to go to mic 1.
Buenas tardes. My name is Javier Aguirre. I'm not interested in the superintendent. Whoever you select, if he's not right, we're going to vote you out of office. Done. That's all I can tell you. But we talk about problems in the school. I've been a teacher for 35 years, a program administrator, and I've sat on the board. So let me just share a couple of stuff. One is the number of graduates. Everybody's excited about the number of graduates. You're all excited about numbers, but you're not excited about quality. The quality of graduate is awful. I've been subbing for the last 10 years. I can tell you that for the Teacher Association, you need to tell your teachers we need better lesson plans in the classroom. We're not babysitters. I think if you have 50 classrooms in a school, you need to have one standard classroom management plan, because kids go from classroom to classroom, get treated differently in every classroom, and they don't know how to settle. We need to start treating our older kids. They're not kids, they're young adults. We need to treat them as young adults. They have an entitlement situation.
Sir, you got 5 seconds.
I'm about done. About education. Education has very little to do with IQ. It has to do with behavior and attitude. And if your kids are failing school, it is because of their behavior and their attitude, not their IQ. And the last one is
I'm going to go to my, sir, I got to speed you up.
The last one is for those people who are in language ESL. I have taught ESL. It is a shame to see kids in ESL for 3 and 4 years. I have mainstream kids in a semester. It is a disgrace.
Thank you. I got to go to mic 2. 30 seconds, folks. Remember, you have people behind you, so let's
My name
be
is
respectful.
Mercy Pacheco. I've been a teacher with Fresno Unified for about 28 years. When I first started in this district, I was kind of one of those weird teachers who looked forward to evaluations because I knew I was getting a second set of eyes to help me grow as a teacher. Unfortunately, in the last 5 to 10 years, evaluations have become a form of retaliation. They become a weapon against teachers. They are now used to silence teachers. A gentleman mentioned earlier about outspoken teachers. I'm one of those. I'm one of those outspoken teachers, and I hear teachers afraid to say anything because they're going to be evaluated. So this is what I would like to propose. I've watched 2 veteran teachers in the last 5 years, 24-year teachers of Fresno Unified, get fired based on the evaluations of one principal. They were not allowed to bring in evaluations from prior years and from other principals. That's too much power in the hands of one person. I have been here 28 years. I have not failed an evaluation. Is it a coincidence that this last year I did not pass after I filed a complaint of non-compliance against my school and the district? I got called in an average of once a month for every little thing. And if you look at my evaluation, and I mentioned this last time, I did not pass because I did not distinguish the hands on a clock during a lesson on digital time.
Ma'am, I got to cut you off. So I'm sorry. I got to cut you off. I'm going to go to mic 1.
I'd like to share the single most important, most incredible, awesome thing I've ever heard in a faculty meeting out of 25 years of teaching in the district. But first I want you to think about the leadership models in companies like Google and Apple and how they motivate their people. And we fail to understand that you get a lot more out of teachers by having them feel refreshed and energized instead of wasting their time and energy at fruitless meetings. You'll get far more work, far more dedication if they're happy having a good time. This is the idea that was said. You know, why don't we cut out some of these meetings after school, and why don't we just, if we got to have meetings, why don't we go out and all the teachers go out to the fields where our kids are playing and root for them with our entire faculty being there. Awesome. I would love to see that. And one other thing, I would love to see something like convocation or a buyback day instead of, oh my God.
Got it. Thank you,
Why don't
sir.
we all go down to the Fresno Zoo? Have a good time together. Be family.
Good evening. My name is Al Chand. I'm an elementary teacher from McCardle School, 27 years with the district. I want to congratulate you for talking the talk. So half the battle is over. Now just walk the walk. And on the superintendent's selection point, get someone locally. We have a lot of talent here. So if you're looking for a twin, look for a twin of a person like Bob Nelson. I don't know him at all, but I think he's an excellent choice. And then do not let the superintendent blackmail you to hold him back because he will leave. Trust me, last 20 years, this district has run not because of the superintendents, but in spite of them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna stay at mic 2. Go.
My name is Sally Prudham. I'm a teacher at Callaway. I've been an educator for 30 years. I don't want you to break the bank to hire our next superintendent. We are struggling financially as a district. He is close to having the income of the President of the United States of America. That's it.
I'm gonna stay at mic 2. Go.
So my name is Vahar. I'm a parent, and more important, I'm a product of Fresno Unified. I have kids at Erickson, Scan, and McLane. I'm gonna piggyback on the pay for the next principal. Let's make sure that that money goes to the classroom instead of paying a principal, superintendent that makes just as much as the president.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to mic 1.
Hello, my name is Hector. I'm a community member in the McLane District. I want to actually correct, it's not entirely correct that an open search process to the community would turn away viable candidates. In 2013, the CSU hosted at Fresno State an open forum for the next president of Fresno State. That was Castro. Mr. Ashton, you said he's doing a good job. He is doing a great job. So my ask is if all 6 of you trustees here present, my math is not off, there's 5 of you up there and there's 1 in the audience. If all 6 of you would commit to hosting an open public interview process with the 3 finalists so that the community and the teachers can vote and influence on who should be the next superintendent for Fresno Unified School District.
Thank you. I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm gonna go back to mic 2.
Hi, my name is Ryan McGee, and I'm a student at Edison High School. And I understand that the teachers are important in this process, but I just want to know what is the role of students in this process?
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Alina Cotton. I'm also a part of the Californians for Justice for Edison, and I wanted to ask, add on to what she said, since we're responsible for learning from our teachers and eventually being teachers in the future.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to mic 1, and then I'm gonna pause and let the board respond to some of your comments and questions. Go ahead.
Kristen Ringer, teacher at Adams Elementary, and I want a superintendent who is going to support everyone in this district to make it not catch them doing something wrong or whatever, but what can we do to help you and increase our administration to not go in and try to ding you on this and ding you on that. What can we do to help you? What can we do to make your job easier? More input
a team. We need a team that works together, not against each other.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to get a couple more comments and then turn it over. Mike 2.
Elizabeth Scroggins. I'm a teacher at Susan B. Anthony. I've been here for 35 years. And my concern is that Fresno's a very unique place. I know you look around the world, but whoever comes needs to know Fresno. We need people that can do it here, because LA is not the same. Idaho is not Fresno.
Thank you very much. Mike 1.
Hi, I'm Angelique Hatcher. I'm an RSP teacher, and I'm a product of Bullard High. I'm here because I want quality. I feel like we put a Band-Aid on everything and we've broken the system, so we need to find a solution and get those quality teachers, those quality aides, quality everything. I feel that we've just watered down everything. Those meetings, I don't mind those meetings as long as they're quality and not watered down.
Thank you. Mike 2.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Powers. I'm a first grade reading specialist and a 34-year veteran. And I'm looking for you to, and Brooke, I know you're with me on this, so we're looking for that superintendent with that strong CTE background, knowledge, and ability to see the alignment with academics and academia, and also, more importantly, that he knows CTE is aligned to job projections. And this is where we've missed the boat, which is actually a cruise ship. 9 years ago, our board, 6 out of 7, voted against CTE and dropped many viable programs. The one that I taught for 25 years, Intro to Teaching at Bullard High School, eliminated. At McLane, Hoover, Roosevelt, eliminated. We lost 8 years of training our own poverty-stricken children to come into this great this is the #1 job hiring company in this community, and we missed the cruise ship because we did not train our own children to become educators. Just one quick thing, our kids got CBEST. They were paid to take the CBEST each year. We had subs when they were going to college, and they got City College articulated credit. So they have missed so much because of that vote 9 years ago. And I hope, Carol Mills, your high school lost the #1 program. Very sad for our community. CTE.
Thank you very much. You've got 30 seconds, sir. 30 seconds.
The challenge you have ahead is big. The working culture of officials and personnel at the district level needs to be improved. What's wrong with humility? Personnel at the district need not to be arrogant. These are enemies of public education. Trustees do not earn a lot of money, but you have the burden of leadership. So let's support the good trustees. So let's not have enemies of public education inside the district level. May not the teacher evaluations be a political tool for outspoken teachers?
Thank you very much. So I'm going to pause for a moment. I want to give the board an opportunity to respond. Elizabeth?
Thank you. There were a lot of good points made, but I do want to address a particular one that came up at the last board meeting, student voice. I think it's absolutely important to include our students in the selection process. And so that'll be something I would advocate for. I think a lot has been said about the next superintendent, but it comes down to, again, the same expectations that we have for our kids. Attitude and relationships. We talk a lot about building relationships with our kids. Well, we need someone who can build relationships with all the stakeholders and the diversity of Fresno Unified. I think it's been said very well that Fresno is unique. I think everyone here loves Fresno and is serving Fresno to the best of their ability because they want to see Fresno succeed. And so the next person needs to have that love, needs to have that passion for Fresno. That needs to be a driving force, because you can have 20, 30 years experience, but if you don't love the community that you're coming into, it's not going to be good. So and I also want to say, and this is more on a personal level, I know that all of us up here have difficult choices and difficult things that come before us. Even in my few months here, there's been a lot of tough choices. It's always about priorities. It's always about choices, and there's a lot of them that come as being part of the school board. And so any choices that we make, any votes that we make, we know have consequences, or I know have consequences, and I can only say that I do what I feel is best for our kids, best for our future, and appreciate all of you for coming and sharing that with me, and having us be able to, or having me be able to make more informed decisions.
Thank you. Claudia?
Just wanted to start off by saying thank you for everybody here to stay until the end. I'm going to have to slip out a little bit early. I have a son at Yokomi. He goes to catechism. I need to pick him up at 7 downtown. So I apologize for leaving a little bit early, but we've taken down notes on what you've mentioned, particularly about the superintendent process and selection and what traits you'd like to see in the superintendent. I want to just say a little bit about college readiness. I've recently heard of some programs that prepare our students a little bit more for college, including having our city college come in and work with freshmen, their freshman year, sophomore year, juniors, or junior, and make sure that they're ready to go into college, as well as having college readiness programs assess students their junior year so that they have their summer to remediate anything, their senior year to remediate anything, and the summer after that, versus having college readiness tests done their senior year and then having them have to take remedial courses at college. So I think that's something that I'll definitely be looking for, because college readiness is I think is important, and we need to make sure we address that for all of our students leaving Fresno Unified.
Thank you. Valerie?
Thank you. Very informative, very, very informative, and I want to thank you for inviting me. I heard you on the pay. Your money goes a lot further in Fresno than it does in the Bay Area or down south, so I'm with you there. The support of a team, that sounds really, really fabulous. I want a superintendent that supports Fresno as a team, Team Fresno. And your idea of meetings instead of go out on the field, somebody brought that up. Fabulous. I know that teachers in high school have to put in some time supervising a sport. They have to go out to the water polo for an hour or something, but to give you that free time to see your students perform, be it a concert or on the field, very, very important. And maybe we can work that somehow in there. And the student voice, like my colleague said, we had a student voice on the hiring selection of our headhunters. And so what our students think, kids have a way of having a gut feeling about us grown-ups. If they trust us, or if they don't, or if they believe us, or if they don't, there's just a gut check that I always value from students. So rest assured we will have a student voice. And we used to have a high school exit exam, which was, ninth grade level? And I always wanted it to be the high school entrance exam. Can they get in, can they pass that test to get out of the 8th grade? Were they deficient in what field and what? So maybe we need to get back to some type of entrance exam. Entrance into the 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th, whatever it is. And, that's a driving point that we value as professionals. So we do have a big job ahead of us, and I will hope that you attend every public forum that you're available to go to, everything. Wherever they have our work, they assure us that they're going to have, 8 meetings a day or something like that, They'll come out and they'll listen. So give them an earful. Thank you.
Thank you. Brooke?
So, I don't know why we, Mrs. Powers, I don't know why we got rid of CTE. I don't know where she went, but I don't know why we got rid of CTE in training teachers. That doesn't make any sense to me. We should have never done that. And I hear some of the frustration in your voice, and I hear some of the change in the air. I think that it's very important for all of us to be able to just pump the brakes for a second and say, okay, it's a resetting time. We're gonna hear you, we're gonna listen to you, and we're gonna move forward with some of the direction that you're giving to us. Now, let me just say this. We can't give you everything, but we certainly can do better. and we're trying to do better. And the one teacher, Mrs. Pacheco, said that she's been teaching 28 years, and then she has 1 year of noncompliance. Let me just be clear, is that I'm certainly not going to address her issue in particular, but the days of retaliation are over. Not going to happen. Not going to happen with this next superintendent, and it's not going to happen with this board, because we're not going to tolerate it. I did hear one of the speakers saying that we don't elect the next superintendent. Somebody needs to go back to civics, because we do, and we will, and we're going to do a great job, and we're going to hire somebody that we want, and somebody that we want is somebody that you want, and we're going to do what's best for the community and not for a certain sector of the community, whether it's whatever piece of that pie that you want to pick. That's not the person we're going to pick. We're going to pick somebody that's good for the whole, and that means you and me and kids and parents and all of us combined, because at the end of the day, our 7 names are on that signature line hiring this guy. It's our reputations that are at stake, and we're going to do a good job. And we hope that you will trust us, that we're going to listen to you, and we will listen to you, and you will trust us that we will do a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. Carol?
I think we've said a lot about the superintendent. There's going to be a lot more opportunities for input. I think it was Trustee Jonathan Rosas who said this is the most important decision that the board is going to make. And it is, because hopefully we get a superintendent who is great, and we get one that stays for a while, not using us to jump off to something else. But I think we've had a lot of input on the superintendent point. For this meeting, there'll be a lot more opportunities. I had a question for you folks, though, because one person stood up and talked about how convocation was not exactly beneficial. Yes, thank you, I agree with you. But my question for you folks is, the regional meetings, are the regional meetings beneficial? I'm seeing some heads nodding yes and some heads saying no. So it sounds like it depends on the region. Okay.
So I think the issue is how it's set up in a particular region, right? So what time and what sort of elements are taking place in those meetings, and then also making sure that we're not pulling folks out of classrooms to go to meetings.
Thanks. I mean, because I think it'd be helpful to know what is working on those and what isn't.
Thank you. Tish?
I was sharing with Carol, just because we're sitting next to each other, I believe it's the board's role to hire the next superintendent. I believe it's their role to provide opportunities for feedback. But ultimately, folks, they have to live and die by the decision that they make in the hiring of the superintendent. Is that an important decision that they're going to make? Absolutely. But I would argue that the decision that they made recently to terminate the former superintendent was an important decision that they made in this district.
Okay, so I still see folks in line. Here's what we've got to do. It's 10 minutes to 7. So I apologize, but here's what I'd like to ask of you folks still in line. The board's not running out, at least I don't think they're running away from us. You can talk to them outside. I got to give these folks an opportunity to make some final comments, and then I got to get to bargaining tonight. So if we could start with some final comments, I'm going to go to Valerie first. And please keep your comments to 1 minute.
I want to thank you for this opportunity. I've taken lots of notes, and I hope that you network with me wherever you are. I don't care that you're in the Sunnyside area or not. It doesn't matter to me. So please reach me, get a hold of me, and let's see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Once again, thank you for tonight. Being one of the newer board members, I really appreciate all this. I also want to say that there has been a lot of changes, and I hope that you all are experienced. I didn't experience before, but I hope that you are all experienced or feeling a little more hopeful in the direction that we've taken recently. And I know we can talk a lot, but really actions are what matters, and I hope you're seeing that, and I, at least for my part, will continue to fulfill those things.
So we lost a few members, but what for me, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for allowing us to hear your voice. I hear you, and I think it's important that Fresno hears you. I take this job and I take this hiring extremely important. I know it's important for you. It's equally as important for me. I want to address one last issue before they turn it to Carol. We've talked about the superintendent's salary, and I want to make sure that you understand this, that I don't agree that our superintendent makes 3 times more than the mayor. I don't agree that the superintendent makes twice what the governor gets paid. I don't agree with that. But let me just explain to you the way it was explained to me, and maybe you can understand it in these terms. When Fresno State was looking for a football coach, they said, what is the top? I said, you're going to pay this guy $1 million plus? This is ridiculous. They said, would you consider Fresno State in the top 75? I said, not last year, I wouldn't. They said, well, would you consider any other year? I said, yeah, they're about top 75. So he said, research and look at what the top 75 football coaches make. And what we have to do, folks, is we gotta be competitive. We don't want the bottom drawer. We don't want the top drawer, but we don't want the bottom drawer either. We have to be competitive. And unfortunately, education is not regulated like the mayor, like the governor. We're gonna be competitive. And you know what? You might not like some of the price that's gonna come through. Believe me, I don't like it either. But I'm not gonna be penny wise and pound foolish. I'm just asking you to consider that. I'm very mindful of where these dollars come from. I'm extremely mindful of where these dollars could be in your classrooms or to kids. I get it, but we need to prepare ourselves that this is not gonna be on the cheap. Thank you very much.
I'll echo my fellow trustees and thank FTA for putting this together, and thank all of you who turned out this evening after working all day to engage in a dialogue. I would like to ask that you not just engage when there's a forum set up like this, particularly if there is an issue or a problem at your site. Please don't expect that somehow the board knows about it, because we don't, unless somebody speaks up. So you have FTA, you have a way to speak up. Tish does not hesitate to let us know when there are problems, which she should be doing. That is part of her role. But because I've had this happen over the years, and people will say, well, this has been going on for a while, and how come the board hasn't addressed it? It's because the board never got told. And hopefully with different administration, maybe that's not going to be the problem anymore. But right now, I think the best way is to speak up and use your opportunities through FTA to do that.
So I'd like to start by saying thank you to our school board trustees for attending. I'm just so encouraged and refreshed and excited about the future in Fresno Unified School District. I'm also going to ask that you would consider, and this doesn't cost a cent, that this board would consider directing staff to direct principals that during any future AC meetings, that you give our educators full autonomy to plan as they see fit. It doesn't cost this district a penny, but what it does is it elevates the spirits of our educators who are professionals who can do the work that they need to get done in order to help their students. Am I correct? The other thing is FTA is going to hold another regional community meeting in the Sunnyside region on April 25th. We'd like to invite any board trustees, but Valerie, I would personally like to invite you to attend, and that's on April 25th at Sunnyside High School. I believe the time is from 5 to 7 p.m., so we try to schedule it so parents and students are off work. Yeah, thank you.
All right. I have 5 minutes to 7. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. If you are staying for the bargaining update, please stay seated. We're going to, again, thank the school board members who are here for coming tonight and being part of the panel. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank the students that were on this stage. Thank the students who are out in the audience. We love and appreciate what you all do. We thank you. Thanks, everybody.